Daily Devotion with Pastor Balla for October 16th, 2021 from Psalm chapter 78, Remembering God, Part 1, Verse 1. Give ear, O my people, to my teaching. Incline your ears to the words of my mouth. I will open my mouth in a parable. I will utter dark sayings from of old. Verse 2 was actually kind of used by Jesus from the Gospel of Matthew chapter 13, verse 35. This was to fulfill what was spoken by the prophet. I will open my mouth in parables. I will utter what has been hidden since the foundation of the world. Matthew would remind us that Jesus would often use parables. And notice that Matthew explains the psalmist's words to us of the dark sayings. Because typically when we think of dark sayings, we think of something evil. But Matthew then says these were hidden since the foundation of the world. These parables aren't dark and evil. They were dark and hidden. Verse 3, things that we have heard and known, that our fathers have told us. We will not hide them from their children, but tell the coming generation the glorious deeds of the Lord and His might, and the wonders He has done. The psalmist will make known what he has heard, and not hide them. What was this forgotten word and wonder and deeds of God? Well, the psalmist then explains it. Verse 5. He established a testimony in Jacob and appointed a law in Israel, which He commanded our fathers to teach to their children, that the next generation might know them, the children yet unborn, and arise and tell them to their children. Here the psalmist is setting a pattern for the next generation, that the Word of God should constantly be taught. And then the psalmist explains why. Verse 7, so that they should set their hope in God and not forget the works of God, but keep His commandments, and that they should not be like their fathers, a stubborn and rebellious generation, a generation whose heart was not steadfast, whose spirit was not faithful to God. You see, people tend to forget, and so we need to be reminded. But when we get too busy with the things of this world, we often forget about the things of God. So the psalmist is putting this warning out there. Continue to teach the next generation. Verse 9, the Ephraimites, armed with the bow, turned back on the day of battle. They did not keep God's covenant, but refused to walk according to His law. They forgot His works and the wonders that He had shown them. So the psalmist reminds the people that others had forgotten the works of God, and then moves the reader into some word of God. Verse 12, in the sight of their fathers He performed wonders. In the land of Egypt, in the fields of Zon, He divided the sea and let them pass through it, and made the waters stand like a heap. Verse 14, in the daytime He led them with a cloud, all the night with a fiery light. He split rocks in the wilderness and gave them drink abundantly from the deep. He made streams come out of the rock and caused waters to flow down like the rivers. This is in reference to the people of Israel when they were leaving Egypt during the Exodus. Verse 17, yet they sinned still more against Him, rebelling against the Most High in the desert. They tested God in their heart by demanding the food they craved. Verse 19, they spoke against God, saying, can God spread a table in the wilderness? He struck the rock so that water gushed out and streams overflow. Can He also give bread or provide meat for His people? Join me again tomorrow as we continue with Psalm chapter 78. God's peace and many blessings be with you. And thank you for listening. And please take an opportunity to share this message with others. If you have enjoyed these daily devotions, please consider making a donation to Peace Lutheran Church, 24024 West Main Street, Plainfield, Illinois, 60544. Thank you again for listening.